The moment before the axe rifles fired, Logan Thackeray swept his hand out in a fan. A blue aura bled from his fingertips into the air, solidifying it in a curved wall before the scouts. "Fire!" the Char Centurion roared. The axe rifles boomed and vomited smoke and lead, but the shots struck the ethereal membrane and sank into it and were eaten away. Bullets showered rust to the ground. The leader of the Char stared, his jaw dropping. "You're full of surprises." "I'm Logan Thackeray. I protect those who are mine." "I'm Ritlock Brimstone," the Char shot back. "I kill those who aren't." "I recognize your blade. Did you say Rorik Brimstone?" "Ritlock," the Char snarled. Logan shrugged. "I just figured since you stole Prince Rurik's sword, you probably also stole his name." Ritlock lashed the air with the burning blade. "The sword's mine now." "After this fight," Logan said, whirling his warhammer in a figure 8, "Sahathan will once again be in the hands of a human." "During this fight," Ritlock spat, "Sahathan will once again be in the guts of a human." He looked back at the Char around him. "Turn those damned rifles around and chop them to pieces." The Savari first awakened from the Pale Tree in 1302 AE. 12 Savari awakened throughout the first day. These Savari were called the Firstborn. It would be 2 years before the next Savari would come forth from the Pale Tree. Faith and her lover Fallon were among the Firstborn. Fallon awakened from the dream at dusk, while Kaith awakened at night. The Savari stayed within the boughs of the Pale Tree, making houses for themselves. While most Savari were content to stay within the confines of the tree, a few did venture out into the world and were brutally punished for it, none more so than Malomedes, who was captured, experimented on, and then released by the Asura. Kaith and Fallon explored the world. While exploring Ore, they discovered the nightmare. Kaith shied away from it, but Fallon embraced it, which eventually led to the two breaking up and Fallon's constant bids to win Kaith back. After Kaith and Fallon fell out, Kaith continued to explore on her own, ending up in Ascalon. In 1319 AE, she ended up watching a fight between a Char and a human. During the fight, they were ambushed by ogres. When only one human and one Char were remaining, Kaith revealed herself and advised that they had killed the child of the chief, who was now coming to avenge the death. Kaith pulled the two into a ruined underground dwarven city where they were attacked by destroyers, servants of the elder dragon Primordus. The trio found a malfunctioning Asura gate. Kaith repaired it and held it open long enough for the three of them to get through before it collapsed, leaving them stranded on the outside of Lion's Arch, with a few destroyers that managed to push through the gate before it closed. They fought the destroyers, but there was a disagreement and a brawl between the Char and the human, which caused damage done to Lion's Arch by the Char's sword, which ended up getting the trio arrested and thrown into jail. Eir Stegalkin was the Norn who had vowed to destroy Jormag, the elder dragon of ice, after the servants of the dragon, the Ice Brood, killed her father. While looking for methods to kill the Ice Brood and the servants of the other elder dragons, as well as the dragons themselves, she was an accomplished sculptor who had settled on the outskirts of the Norn city of Holbrak. While sculpting her dire wolf Garm, Eir was approached by two Asura and commissioned to carve two large stone busts for their new golem power suits. Eir helped the Asura build their suits, which their heads were fashioned after the two Asura's heads, and helped them put it all together. Garm was not particularly happy when the two suits came alive, but one of the Asura reassured both Garm and Eir that the suits were machines and that they had no will to do anything except for what they were told. When Eir saw the power suits, she thought about how they could be used to kill the Ice Brood and the other dragon's minions. The two Asura agreed, and the trio went to find the Dragon Spawn, one of Jormag's champions. Eir and the two Asura fought their way through the Ice Brood, but when they reached the Dragon Spawn's lair, their minds were invaded. They pressed forward, driving the Dragon Spawn from their minds and deeper into the lair. However, they nearly froze to death and were forced to retreat, finding the world buried in at least 10 feet of snow and knowing that the storm was also hitting Holbrak. When they returned to Holbrak a week later, finding the city buried and many of the citizens had died in the storm, Newt Whitebear, the leader of the city, then exiled Eir and the Asura from the city. The trio made their way to Lion's Arch to find more warriors that would assist them in their quest to rid the world of the Elder Dragons. Logan Thackeray was a mercenary that worked with the Ebon Vanguard in Ebonhawk. The Ascalonian city was under constant siege from the Char who wanted their land back after the events of the Searing and the Foe Fire. Logan's job was to help protect the city, but also to protect the caravans making their way from the human lands through the Char territory to the last human stronghold in Ascalon. During one of these escorts, Logan had learned that the Char were going to be marching through a nearby canyon and set up a trap for them. His group set off an avalanche over the marching Char, killing most of them. However, a few Char remained, and those that did pursued the mercenaries. Logan and his team led the Char away from the caravan, which then continued on to Ebonhawk. The Char caught up with the humans, pinning them against the wall. Logan recognized the sword the lead Char was carrying as Sohothan, the sword of the last prince of Ascalon, Rurik. Logan fought the Char, vowing to get Sohothan back for the humans, when the fighting was interrupted by the ogres. The two groups quickly decided to work together to fell the ogres, as each group did not have enough people to take them on individually. At the end, only Logan and the Char with Sohothan were left standing. They started burning their dead, but were interrupted by Kaith stepping out of the surrounding foliage and telling them that more ogres were on the way, and that one of the ogres they killed was Chiefling Igor, and that Chief Cronon would stop at nothing to avenge his child's death. From here, the trio found the underground dwarven ruins, the broken Asura Gate, and then escaped to Lion's Arch, where they were arrested for property damage. As a member of the Stone Warband and Blood Legion, Ritlock Brimstone found himself working closely with the Iron Legion in Ascalon. During a tour of the Char High Legions, Ritlock was assigned to work with Centaurian Korek Blacksnout of the Iron Legion. Their job was to hunt down the human caravans and prevent them from aiding Ebonhawk during the siege. During the mission and march through the canyon, Ritlock came to the Centaurian and warned him that they were probably walking into a trap. The Centaurian told Ritlock that there wasn't a trap and that he needed to have more courage, to which Ritlock responded, "It doesn't take courage to march into a trap, it takes idiocy." The Centaurian told Ritlock to watch his mouth, and Ritlock pointed out that if he wanted to take out a Char Legion, then he would be at the top of the canyon. The Centaurian then pushed Ritlock to go first through the canyon, and Ritlock was right. It had been a trap. The falling rocks hit the Char, but Ritlock dodged out of the way, telling the Centaurian, "I told you it was a trap," before slicing open his neck and killing him with his flaming sword, Sohothan. The remaining Char kneeled and bowed before Ritlock, and he stepped into the role of their new leader. The Char chased the humans, pinning them down before they were attacked by the ogres. By the end, only Ritlock and Logan remained before Kaith stepped out of the foliage and warned them of the upcoming threat. While in the dwarven ruins, Ritlock said that he refused to go through the Asura Gate that they had found, even if it would allow him to get back to the Black Citadel, the Iron Legion capital in Ascalon. Instead, he searched for another way out, but stumbled onto a nest of destroyers, which he then led directly back to Kaith and Logan. They went through the Asura Gate into Lion's Arch, killing the destroyers that followed them. Afterward, Logan confronted Ritlock about how he got Sohothan, and Ritlock refused to tell him. The human and the Char fought, causing the property damage that gets the trio arrested. Master Snaff, Genius and Golemancer, was said to be one of the most intelligent of the Asura, which was saying something. He literally wrote the book on comparative golemantic theory. As the Asura were a small but highly intellectual and magical race, they needed the golems to help protect and do the heavy lifting for them, and Snaff was the master of creating combat golems. Snaff and his apprentice traveled from Radasum, the Asura capital, to Holbrook to find Air Stagalkin to help them fashion a new type of combat golem. Snaff commissioned Air to make the two golems using a special stone, telling Air that they would be the next evolution of golems. Once the commissions were done, Snaff, Air, and his apprentice ventured into the dragon spawn's lair, where they were forced to retreat after nearly losing their lives. They lost the golems while fleeing the lair. However, they learned that the golems did work, and the three banded together after Air's banishment from Holbrook and made another, better golem. Sandy. Sandy was created using sandstone from the Crystal Desert. Additionally, the golems the Asura typically made had one power stone, but Sandy had millions. This allowed Snap to control everything in Sandy's body more smoothly than any other combat golem. It could even repair itself as well as reform itself based on the needs of the pilot. After their failure with the dragon spawn, they didn't want to test the golem against something so powerful, so they made their way to the Lion's Arch fighting pits. Zoja, genius in training and Snap's apprentice, was an Asura golemancer from the College of Synergetics. Zoja spent a lot of time with her mentor, seeing him as a father figure, and his constant encouragement of her pushed her to be the greatest golemancer that ever lived. She accompanied her mentor on his quest to improve the combat golems to the residents of Aristogalkin. Zoja had designed the golems and then redesigned them after their testing and failure with the dragon spawn. While adventuring, the trio became a small guild, naming themselves Dragonspawn's Destiny. While in Lion's Arch, Zoja, Snap, and Air learned about a trio of fighters that had quickly become the favorite in the fighting pits. They had called themselves the Edge of Steel. They learned that this was a group that was fighting for their freedom in the pits and made a deal with Magnus the Bloody-Handed that if they fought the Edge of Steel, that they would take ownership of their billet. Magnus agreed. How will this ragtag band of adventurers work together? Will they take out any of the Elder Dragons or their champions? Can the 5 races work past their differences and come together for the greater good? Find out next time on the Archon Chronicles. Want to learn more about Air, Kaith, Logan, Ritlock, Snaf, and Zoja? Read about the founding of Destiny's Edge and Edge of Destiny by J. Robert King, Book 2 in the Guild Wars novels. You can also learn more about each of the characters by playing through the personal story and the story dungeons in Guild Wars 2. Thanks for watching this episode of the Archon Chronicles. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe to help with the channel and to be notified when new videos come out. Want even more Guild Wars 2 content? I stream on Twitch 4 times a week. Find me on Twitch and Instagram at AngelRider428. I'll see you in the next episode.